Hey guys, so just watched the election, so got it playing on TV, the people talking. Um, let's kind of talk about what happened with my read last night that I did. Well, I made it in the comments in the communities tab, but now we see the star versus ruin. Biden was a star, and Trump got the ruin card. The one area I was just watching the polls, and a lot of people believe Biden did good issues when they were polling on the issues. The economy is where they're really tied. And that was a thing in my reading. I talked about there was that failure card, but then there was a gain card. Both cards were in Biden's layout. Now, I feel like what that has to do with is this. When they were talking about getting that clean energy going on, which no, he's not part of the Green New Deal. He never has been on board with that. But Trump tried to say he is because he knows a lot of people are not for the Green New Deal. But the thing is, it would cost a lot of money. And, his plan, to redo buildings and to, give tax credits towards homes, to put in, the make the buildings more clean energy and so forth, you know, it it would be failure wise because it would cost a lot of money. That's where, the Seven of Pentacles is, that kind of poor harvest, it could cost some money. And also failure, I could see that some Americans may not be on board with that necessarily because they worry about their taxes. Because we pay for it, right? But then we've got the gain card next to it, and that's where I went, aha. In the end, we would gain. He is telling the truth that it would create jobs. To be able to do these buildings, to get this clean energy going, it would create jobs. He is right. But in the beginning, though, it could kind of crunch us. That's the area. It could kind of hurt a little bit. But in the end, we would do so much better. We would gain financially. So he's accurate about that with all these jobs and things going on. And then it's good for the climate. It would help out. So really, he's got the right idea. Selling that to the American people, I don't feel was his strong suit tonight. And that kind of showed, in the layout. I told you guys he'd bring up Hunter Biden. Did I not say he's probably going to bring up his son? I talked about that. When we got into the military issue, I felt Hunter Biden. And that was the moment, when he brought up his son, Beau. And then Trump threw Hunter Biden in his face and started making accusations. I told you, because that's what I was kind of feeling somewhere around in there. I started getting the vibe with that. So I was on that. That's for sure. But I will acknowledge I was off on one thing. I thought he'd tone it down. I thought he might tone it down. This is the thing. I think my regular rational mind got in the way, because I would think the only way you think Trump would know if he's going on a presidential debate and his ass is on the line, and he knows how, he's not in front of a rally with his supporters that are cheering him on. He's also has other people watching that are not necessarily his fans, and they don't like that behavior. If he looks on Facebook and Twitter and all of the comments of the people that do not like him, his behavior, the way he acts on Twitter and at these rallies, and the way he talks turns people off really bad. So, I felt, I was like, I feel we'll see a toned down Trump, and I'm off. So I will give you that. I failed on that one. I failed you guys on that. But at the same time, I didn't say completely he'd be nice, because I got the cruelty card. Okay, I got that cruelty card, and I told you he was going to give digs at Biden, because of course he is. He can't help himself in that. So I knew that was coming, and I knew the sun was coming. But his heat, I guess, is the best thing. I thought he would tone down the fire, because he's on camera in front of probably the most televised debate of all time. This probably was. I would love to know the ratings. So I was like, I sat there, I'm like, well, I better go back, and I better sit in front of YouTube and say, okay, I'm sorry, guys, that part I was off. But trying to see something like that with tarot sometimes is a challenge. I don't know, a little more wands, but there was seven of wands that show he would come in aggressive. I did tell you that, that he would of course be aggressive, but he hurt himself. That ruin, the star versus ruin. I pulled those up at the end. I said, these are the key cards. This is here. Another thing that I brought up too, not boasting about myself, I'm just pointing out some things. But the other thing was talking about, did you see how Biden would look right into the camera like this? And he'd point and he spoke to the American people, the ones who are hurting. I told you he would do that, Five of Pentacles. Okay? That's who he was going to speak to. That is who he's going to appeal to, the everyday American. That was the Five of Pentacles, where Trump was a little bit more talking about that luxury and so forth. He's trying to appeal to different people, even not necessarily the people in his rallies. I wish the people in his rallies would understand he's really there for like the rich, like himself, and everything, and it's not about them. But and then, of course, healthcare was a big issue. That was coming up. And, of course, coronavirus. And another thing I told you, he would talk about shutting it down, right? Travel ban and everything. Hey, I shut it down, the travel ban. I told you. He didn't say the word travel ban, but that's what he meant. Shut down the country, didn't let people in. And he's like, he wanted to keep it all open. He was talking about Biden. That's what he meant. And then also, that he saved more lives. He was talking about that and everything. But he really trips up on the mask issue. Okay? The American people are fed up with coronavirus. That's the thing. And a lot of us do we just want to be able to live our lives. So there are a lot of Americans who are willing to get out there and wear that mask and everything. So, we just, we want to get it down. The majority of us do. But yes, there's going to be people who think it's a hoax. And unfortunately, and I really strongly believe that if he would have been on board with this, everybody, his people, his supporters would have been wearing masks. But he is the reason they don't. He's the reason. If he would have been out there, guys, wear masks. Because they listen to him. I am telling you, they would be wearing masks. There might be a 10% that would be like, I'm not wearing a mask. Is that no matter what the president says? Maybe. But the majority of them would be wearing a mask. If he would have said this is a very deadly virus, and everything is, and, yeah, it's China's fault. I will give him that. There was a lot of things they did wrong and everything. But once it hit here, or he became aware back in December, really, and once it hit and everything, it's on us. It's on us to deal with it. It's a virus. There's only so long you can blame everybody else for it. He doesn't want to take the blame for all the death. Okay, so we talked about that. But yeah, that was the star versus ruin. He really hurt himself. But there's a lot of people who are going to look at that. You're really going to talk about Hunter Biden or Biden. I don't know why I said Byron. You're going to talk about Hunter Biden when you've got one of your kids is stealing from a children's charity. I think it's Eric Trump, and then funneling it into your business. Children's charity. And then you're going to talk about Hunter Biden. Okay? You got, all this stuff going on with Ivanka. Maybe she's going to end up going to jail one day. She's shady. Don't trust that cute little pretty face there. Okay? She's shady too. She's just like him. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I'm going to read the aftermath. That's what I want to kind of talk about. Just kind of pull cards, see what they look like. How's everything going to go? And, like I said, I've always felt he's going to win. Us tarot readers have been pretty much on board on that. Just certain things about like him leaving is a gray area. That one's kind of hard to see. I have a feeling it's just going to be absolutely unpredictable. I know some people want to know, is there going to be a civil war? I don't want to read that. There's just let's not speak certain things into existence. Okay. So I don't want to ever, go there. If I can help it, that's not good. There is a certain, we read, but sometimes us readers are like, Let's not speak things into existence. So let's read it. Let's just go. But yeah, that was a heck of a debate. But yeah, I will say I was off on that. I really I thought he would have some kind of common sense, that he would tone it down. Now, I had the cruelty card, so I expected the digs. I had a feeling Hunter Biden would get thrown in when he has nothing to do with what's going on, to put him down. And I feel, really, when that happened, I feel Joe Biden handled that well, because that's a tough one. Him saying, yes, my son had a problem, like bringing up his drug use. Now, there's a lot of people that are addicts in this country, okay? Recovering addicts, okay? They're going to see that, and to put him down, they're going to feel that. Because think of how many addicts we have had, and recovering addicts, in this country. Okay? He handled that very well. He handled that with class. He did not deny it. He did not deny it, and he spoke like a human being. I'm real proud of Joe. He did a good job. And you notice one thing, Joe Biden has some class. He didn't put down one of his kids. He didn't bring up the children's charities. You know why? Because it's just like I told you. It has nothing to do with what's going on in this country. That's a separate issue. That's more something you would take people to court, that. It looks bad to have a family like that, but it has nothing to do with what's going on. What his kids do, really, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but it's a separate issue. And you notice he had class. He could have talked about, his kids too, and he did not do that. And he could have said a few things. Especially with, I believe it's Eric Trump is the one who's about to be questioned. And they tried to avoid that for a long time. And he's about to have to face the music on some of his business dealings. Very curious what I'm going to get. I'm all pumped up. I actually did take a nap right after the debate. I think I was just so exhausted from watching that. I needed to take a nap for about an hour and woke up. And I still have readings to get done tonight. Almost there. Pretty soon I'm going to read also on Kamala and Mike Pence. I'm going to read that before that happens too. Now the Queen of Pentacles, she was my very first card. And I talked to you guys about that one of the things he wanted to do is appeal to women. I don't think that necessarily went well. Especially one of the issues bringing up Roe versus Wade. It was brought up a little bit into that. There was a little bit of talk about the Supreme Court, about Amy Coney Barrett and so forth. But as far as the effect on women and winning them over, I've got the Tower Crossing, okay? Because this was an area, he didn't really speak to the women enough, I will say that. But this is the ones he really wanted to impress, though. He's been talking about them for a while. He did, I guess he did appeal a little bit to them when he talked about suburbia. He does like to say that if Joe Biden gets in there and is president, suburbia is a thing of the past. that everything is going to be destroyed by Antifa. Okay, and this is his thing. So I would say, he needs to understand. And I've read up on this with the women that they're educated. And they're not housewives. This is not the 1950s Trump. These women are educated. They've got degrees and all kinds of things going on. And even if they don't have a degree, they're doing very well. They're making money. And there's a lot of single women in suburbia too. It's not, it's not all couples. I need a drink. There's a lot of single women that have homes. There's women running small businesses. There's all kinds of things going on. So I feel the tower, definitely with the women. But I would say the whole thing was a tower moment. The whole thing was a tower moment. Let me look a little bit here. I'm actually going to kind of lay them out. Let me put you guys back down. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm going to have that be Biden, and I'm going to have that be Trump. Interesting. Get a lot of feminine. Oh, I think I know what that is. Gotcha. Oh, yes. Okay. So for Biden, I've got, this one is going to be my Biden card. It's the happiness card. I feel like I don't know. I mean, he's going to see the polls. He's going to be happy about it. But I still, at the same time, feel that he's not feeling too good. But, I mean, as far as to have to go in there and battle with that man has got to be exhausting. When I get Trump, this is my Kaylee card. Okay? So I expect her to be in there pretty soon. She's going to be talking, probably having a press briefing. There's going to be some things flying. Expect her to be ready to defend. That's her card for me. So expect some of those briefings. There may be some things that are brought up and so forth as she's going to be defending him. And get there. But a couple things that are very interesting popping up. I've got the Three of Cups, the celebration card, and I've got the Ace of Cups here. This is one of the good things. You notice, if you notice those polls, now I guess which poll, but I was watching the CNN. Joe Biden did well. He won some people over. People changed their minds. I see that was one of the things when I was kind of reading there last night. I was like, does anybody ever change their mind to debate? I'm kind of being proven here that they do. Okay, he won some people over because, we had a little bit more answers on that. So Ace of Cups, some people went, there you go. And that celebration card, he's seeing the polls. I feel like they're going to change. I feel like there's going to be some dramatic change. The economy is the one area. I've got the Power card, the Four of Pentacles, and so forth. That's going to be the area where they're going to be a little tied. See, it's like a 4, it's kind of very balanced and everything. So it's kind of stuck there. And that's the one area, but that's not necessarily the most important thing. That part is really good. Coronavirus was dealt with. This is in the hopes and fears position, though. Okay, this is my coronavirus card for those who follow me. 8 of Wands, because it's a swift-moving card. Very fast, very swift. That's what Corona does. In the hopes and fears position, this is the main thing. Even though economy is a big thing with people, coronavirus is a big thing with people. Because there can be no economy with coronavirus. We need to face the facts on that. We're all smart enough to know that no matter what side you're on. As long as coronavirus is running around, no matter how you feel about it, we're going to have a bad economy. Okay? Trump knows that deep down. That's the thing. Trying to build back and all that stuff. Deep down. That's an issue. What are the things, though? Jobs. Page of Pentacles for me can be employment, being a job offer. I feel there, like we were talking about a little bit of that failure and gain card and everything. I do feel there are some people who are like, yeah, that does make sense. If we're going to go to clean energy, we got to hire people to do stuff that would create jobs. So I do feel he won some people over on that. So that actually makes me feel a little bit better, as some people got on board with that. So that is promising to me. And that's part of the works, the people working together and so forth to get that going. So I have a feeling he won a few people over on that. And now there's still some people scared. I realize I haven't even pulled an outcome card yet. There's still some people scared and so forth, about economy, and, some people are afraid of Democrats and money, they think of taxes and everything else. But, at the same time, they can also take care of people in certain situations. I would like to pull a card. I want to pull two. Prince of Discs, that came up. Yeah, and I pulled the Prince of Discs last night, and that was for my Biden card. So I feel like his plan, this kind of represented for me, for Biden, the plan. This is one of the strongest things there. See, when it comes to, like, when we talk about affordable care, health care and everything, Affordable Care Act, excuse me, Obama created something. But Trump, he's had all these years. He doesn't want Obamacare. He wants it overturned. But what replaces it? This is a big thing. And there are a lot of people on health insurance that need that health insurance. So a lot of people are like, okay, if you want to get rid of Obamacare, that's fine. What you going to replace it with? If you're going to replace it with something, you better make it better. This is kind of how I feel Americans feel about it. Okay, you don't like Obamacare? Just make sure you give me a plan that's better. But there's no plan. He's had all this time. He doesn't know how to craft up a health care, and that's the thing. And if he did it the Republican way, they talk about private insurance and all that, but Republicans don't like things like Medicare and Medicaid. They don't like tax dollars paying for people's medical bills. Okay? They like it to go to other things. They like it to go to other stuff. And that's just the way it is. And I got that sorrow card. Okay. And we kind of talked about that. This was under cruelty, the suffering and so forth. And this is a big thing, no matter what side you're on, we're all kind of suffering. We're exhausted, except for the rich people making all that money that they talked about. I know Amazon made a lot of money because I couldn't stop shopping. The thing is, when we were all trapped and all the businesses were closed and we needed stuff, that's why Amazon grew. Well, I can't go here to get this, that, this, or that. I'll order it on Amazon. So certain companies like that profited really big during the pandemic because other things were shut down and we couldn't necessarily get certain things, so easily. If I need shoes or, things like that. So that's the challenge. But yeah, looking at, and I'll draw an outcome card next. Looking at the Ace of Cups and the Three of Cups, Biden does have a reason to celebrate. The polls are up. And I did see them, just the economy. That's the main, people that are fiscally conservative. There's a lot of people fiscally conservative, but not necessarily Republican. People that are generally like independents and so forth. That's the one thing. And I ended with the Ace of Discs. Ace of Discs. So that is, I feel overall, even though they had all that stuff, even though we got coronavirus and all this stuff, it's, bringing back the economy. We don't want to die, okay? We're sick of coronavirus, the suffering and everything. But the card, the hopes and fears, which has a lot of influence on that outcome card. This is where we want our business, our lives back. We want to be able to go to jobs. We want to be able to work. We want to have money to pay our bills. Okay, Ace of Discs. We want to get paid, right? We want the economy back. But this is right. The ninth position, hopes and fears. Coronavirus. We also know this. Coronavirus has to get out of the way. We've got to flatten the curve. if we want this to happen. And we need a plan. And this is where Biden, a lot of people know, a lot of people, the people that are not at the rallies, let's put it that way, the people that are not at the rallies, know that no plan is not working. Because that's what we're kind of, it's like states have plans and each state has done things. Like in Washington, he's doing the best he can. Inslee is doing the best he can and everything like that. A lot of people do not like him here because they just want to get back everything up and going again. People want to go back to their jobs. I totally get that. We've opened up a lot of stuff though, but we had to flatten things. We had to flatten the curve. But that's going to be the key issue. So I feel overall Biden did very well with the American people, seeing the celebration card, and he won some hearts. He won people over. And you know what part of the reason? Remember, I told you he'd bring up Hunter Biden, right? I feel when he hit low, this and Joe Biden, he didn't freak out. He handled it well, and he spoke to the American people. That was a strong suit. But also, those moments where he didn't let Trump distract him, and he looked right into the camera and went like that, and he spoke to the people. I know what you're feeling. I know you're having a hard time. Just bear. When he is speaking to us real people, just like me, just like you, and he's trying to talk to us and empathize with us. We don't get that with Trump. We just we don't get that. And I feel that, that empathy, Ace of Cups, that won people over. He did a good job. He did a good job. But let me talk about this. And this is one of the areas, the Hierophant, which can represent the spiritual. Okay, this is an area. Now, see, this is the thing, is the majority of people know that Joe Biden is a Catholic. And I know Christians are smart enough to know that they know Trump is not a Christian. They know that. Holding up the Bible in front of the church and shooting peaceful protesters does not make you a Christian. And when he has been questioned on the Bible, what's your favorite verse, he can't answer. He's also made statements that he does not need to go to God to be forgiven for sins, which is a completely antithetical to Christianity. But that is one of the areas that Joe really needs to work on. We talked about the women. I feel he failed with the women. The scaring of the suburban and Antifa coming in and all that stuff. That tower there, I feel he lost a lot of women. Because, what is this horse's ass doing? But the Christians, that's where he really needs to go. They were talking about, now I'm confused. They say there's more debates, but then there might not be. After this disaster, because even one of the CNN people said it was a shit show. And I went, oh my God, can they say that on CNN? But they did. I don't know, but if there's another debate, see, that's where he's got to try to appeal to those Christians. He needs to work on that. And I would say with the Hierophant, that's a big one. And that's a big one. I was, if you watched my video on the light workers and Christians, I was watching a show. It's called Revive. You can see it on Amazon Prime. And it was a pretty good show. It's got Kirk Cameron. A lot of you guys maybe know him, obviously from Growing Pains, but he is a Christian. He's done some movies and he's a very Christian. But he had just like regular people and pastors and things like that kind of talking in the church. And one of the things I really liked about the show is it just showed regular Christians versus, and I'm sure some are conservative, but when they were questioning people because they had run it live on this show and people were putting in Facebook questions, when I looked at the certain questions that were popping up on that show, people, Christians are just scared, just like you, if you're not, or you're Democrat or this or that, they're scared too. Another thing I noticed is they see the government as corrupt. And one of the questions was even a very big question, which I know a lot of Christians are sitting with, is, how do I choose between the lesser of two evils? Now, I don't think Biden's evil. And just so you know, I think he's portrayed that way, but he's not perfect. Okay, he's not perfect. But that's the way a lot of people feel. So I feel that Christians, even the conservative Christians, not the extremists, I'm not even talking about them, but your basic everyday Christian is aware that Trump is immoral. Okay, they are aware of that. And they know, and I know they've got the conflict between their faith and what Jesus teaches versus an immoral leader. Okay, but there's so much they feel like the Republican side has been their side. So I feel their angst, and I understand that. But I want you guys to understand, when you're seeing a lot of things in the media portrayed a certain way, it's real important to see that's really what's going on. So, but if Biden, who is an actual Catholic, okay, if he can appeal to them, and kind of reassure them, certain things like he's not going to take God out of America and things like that. If he can somehow reach them in that way, then he's got it. That's one area they didn't really get into that, but if they can get into that a little bit in the debate in some way, if he can find a way to speak to them, directly, especially, maybe share his faith and so forth, then he can take it. He can definitely take it. But he's got a good shot here, of course. He really did a good job. He wasn't perfect. He got heated too. So I will say he got heated too. But that's an area he really needs to get. It's like Trump's so focused on the women because he thinks he's got the Christians in the bag. And he needs to understand that a lot of them know who he is. They're not stupid. They're really not. He thinks that they are not smart. And he's underestimating them. He really is. Hope you guys enjoyed my read.